So my first question today is for Martin, if that's okay. And what I'd like to ask Martin is, what skills do you believe the industry is looking for, particularly within the sector Bryce stores within?
There's no immediately quick answer to that. There's lots and lots of skills we're looking for, but I think probably at two ends of the spectrum. Firstly, the pace of technology is accelerating all the time in what we do. We're doing much more automated manufacturing, but also a lot of the systems in the business are becoming much more based around business operating systems. So kind of at every level of the business, we're looking at literacy and a kind of intuition with IT and software systems. It's just becoming more and more an important part of the process. And I think beyond that, something that will never go out of fashion is just a really solid engineering base. Great engineers will always be bedrock of our business. So design engineer level, process engineers, product engineering guys, new product introduction, just having some really good, solid, basic understanding of the fundamentals of engineering is probably the most important asset we're looking for.
Next, my question is for Phil. So, Phil, how can an applicant stand out from the hundreds of CVs, especially for 3A pressings?
I think the biggest one is researching the company. Find out what that company does. You know, see, just get under their skin a little bit. You know, the biggest thing that can impress me is when some young person comes to my office, sits there, looks at me, and can engage with me and talk to me and look me in the eyes, you know, and that's very important for me. But also coming very smartly dressed. I remember doing a review at one of the colleges in Derby, and people came in raincoats and all sorts and everything else, and there were 20 directors there, you know, listening to these young people doing presentations, and people kept their coats on. So it's very important to impress the employer, you know, and the one thing I'll say is don't be afraid, because we were in that position as well. You know, me as an apprentice, as a toolmaker, you know, I won't tell you how many years ago, you know, I was on the YTS scheme, and I wanted to go and do an apprenticeship in engineering, and I wasn't quite sure what part of engineering, so I decided to do toolmaking. And I think Chris Marney told my father, he'll never be out of a job, but he'll never be a rich man. And so I think that made me more determined than ever, to be honest. But also, as I walked around the factory, Harry Wooding said to me, Phil, what are you going to do for me, and how are you going to do something different for me? And as I walked around the factory, I saw he had these massive tool racks covered in tools. And I said, Harry, in 6 months' time, I'm going to clear that rack for you so you can put some machines there, which earn you some money. And hey ho, it took me 8 months, but that's what it was. But I think the thing that Harry liked about me was my attitude, my aptitude, and my want to learn, my want to ask. And don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, we're expecting young people and people who come into industry of all ages. If you're not sure what you do, we've been doing it for years. Just ask us. It's better to do that. But the main thing, as you said earlier, is drive, commitment. Find out about the company. Ask what that company does, and make sure that it's what you want to do with that company. Because some companies can give you a very narrow, broad band of what they do, but some companies can give you such a broad spectrum. And I think today is more incredible now than ever, because in my days, I was on a Triac and an Orac machine, and you know, we used to draw pictures to get them to actually work. Nowadays, you're programming from a live computer, downloading that information, and I think engineering now is probably more incredibly advanced than it ever has been. You know, it's allowed the Chinese to catch up with us in the manufacturing process because of CNC machines, CNC wire robotic welding, laser cutting machines. You get 5-axis lasers now. You know, that's something we used to watch on Star Wars when it first came out. You know, so please, please, please research what you want to do. And it's one of those things in engineering, you're either going to love it or you hate it. And within the first month or two, you're going to know whether you want to be an engineer or not. You're going to know whether you're going to be in the office, whether you're going to be on the shop floor, whether you're going to get dirty. You know, 20 minutes before this interview, I was changing a hydraulic hose on a sliding head machine, you know, because it just split. And that's what it's about. It's about adapting and getting involved. And I don't think there's ever any engineer or engineering company who will ever discourage anybody for wanting to ask and to learn. And you know, we want young people to get into this industry, you know, and it's such an incredible place to go now. So please research the company, find out who the people are. Social media is out there now all the time. And if you look at my LinkedIn, look at my tweets, you'll see what we're up to. You know, you don't. My wife doesn't ask me what I do. She goes on social media and finds out what I've been up to today, because 9 times out of 10 it's put out there. You know, so please, please, please research the company, get involved, because by goodness, we want you, and it's a 50-50 process. You know, we want to train you, we want you to train us, and to bring us your abilities and skills to come and join us.
So John, what do you think is the best way for a job seeker to approach an employer if they're interested in a role? What do you think the best way is to do that?
I think they've got to show the versatility. I think one of the key things is to show an employer that you're interested in what the business is about, learn about, look at what that company is about before you go to talk to them. I think one of the biggest things on the manufacturing front, and what any prospective employee should look for in manufacturing, is the versatility that you get within it. And you hear the passion that Phil came out with. And although I'm very passionate, I think the passion that Phil comes out with transmits throughout the whole globe. But I too, you know, started as a 16-year-old apprentice, not knowing what to do. And I became an owner of my own company after being on various different boards across working with Japanese companies. So, you know, what I would say is, look at manufacturing as the ability to open in a number of different areas. You know, I did an apprenticeship, and then I did electronics when electronics just started going away from valves and just entering into transistors. And that was an awful long time ago. But from that, I then got into sales and marketing, and then I got into being a general manager for an organization, and then I became an MD for a Japanese company working on their board, and then I opened my own business. And now we employ 50 people in various different groups within our business. And I'm saying, you know, if you're looking at manufacturing, you know, look at the ability that manufacturing gives you. Look at the different aspects within manufacturing. It's not just the manufacturing, it's all the sequences around it, all the other elements that manufacturing demands. So, you know, it is a wonderful and an exciting career to walk into. And again, you know, we have people in here that have come in as young people, and today are really the cornerstones of our business, where they can talk about providing solutions. And that's what we want to bring to potential employees. You know, we give you the opportunity. Manufacturing is definitely, without doubt, the place to go. And it is what you make out of it. And if you're willing to put in the time, you will get the result. If you expect to get the result, you're not going to get it, and don't join it. So, you know, it's a matter, sometimes you go through the pain, but the pain is rewarding. And you have to sometimes be at the bottom to get to the top. So I assure you all, give it a go. And Boroma, like any other companies within this area, are open to give anybody who's keen to work the ability to grow. And that's what we're looking for.
Great. And Jonathan Horn, my question to you is, why do you believe manufacturing makes for a good career? You know, in comparison to maybe other sectors, why is manufacturing a good place for a career?
I think making stuff is a peculiar thing to a lot of people. But I was looking at, I'm sure we've all seen over the last few weeks, the Mars lander and its little trails around Mars. I was looking at that the other day, and I was thinking, we haven't made anything for that, unfortunately. But I was looking at it thinking, it would be so great if something we'd made was on that thing that's up there in Mars right now.
Yeah.
And there's an enthusiasm that comes with making things. If you look at Formula One cars, 90% of them are made in the UK. If you look at things that during this pandemic, we were involved with making parts for the ventilators to McLaren and eventually on to Penlon. Making things is different. It's not it's not a mundane, boring type of profession. There's a lot of different avenues that you can take. Going back to something Nick said a minute ago, enthusiasm is huge in most people that are involved in making stuff. And this country is very good at making things and has been for many years, since the Industrial Revolution indeed. Within manufacturing, as one of my colleagues here just said a second ago, there's lots of other avenues that you can explore. You don't have to just be involved on the engineering side. There are other facets to business that support manufacturing within these companies. So there's a lot going on in manufacturing companies, apart from just making things, although for me that's the best bit.
Yeah, and Nick, as an education provider, how can people break into the industry to develop a career in manufacturing?
Well, one of the things that I find we have a team within the college called the Employment Hub, and their specific job is to recruit apprentices for employers. And we have, if you go to if you contact us, we have a number of vacancies at the moment. And I was just thinking, Fab and Weld, always very popular. Entry-level apprenticeships, always very popular. But the thing that employers always talk to us about is about attitude more than anything else, if I'm honest. And we did something 2 summers ago as an experiment, and I'll tell you the story because we did it again last year during lockdown. We recruited a load of school leavers, 32 of them, in the summer of 2019, and we brought them into college in the summer. We put them in a nice uniform, we gave them boots, we put them kits, and then we put them in the workshops. We have an advanced manufacturing centre which was built about 5 years ago. We started them with hand tools, then we moved them onto machines, and we gave them a level 1 introduction to engineering. And then at the end of the 4 weeks, I invited a load of MDs in. So very much like the gentleman here, they built their businesses themselves. They started, in many cases, as apprentices. I love the story about your works manager, who was one of ours a long time ago. And I remember it because the car park was full of very nice cars, I have to say, which impressed all of the learners. And all these MDs just went in the workshop and talked to the learners. And out of 32, 28 were taken on as apprentices, which was amazing. But one of the things that the employers were most interested in were things like, did they turn up on time every morning? Engineering companies start early, so all of these trainees had to be dressed, ready to go 8 a.m. in the morning, and then they talked to their tutors about their work and their attitude and their the general approach to what they were doing. So as an entry-level person, if you're thinking of getting an apprentice, I think those skills apply, those attitudes apply, but I also think they apply at every stage of your career as it happens.